In this video, we are going to create this minimal CV website using React and Tailwind. The website has a dark mode and also it is fully responsive. We are going to create this part by part and I will be explaining every single step. So let's get into it. So to start this project, I will use my starter code, which will be available in the description for you as well. You can download this folder and start from here. Let's take a look at the project. Here I have the app.jsx file, which is completely empty. Inside the public folder, I have this image. Of course, you can change this with your own image. Inside the index.css file, we use the font family inter. And inside index.html file, using Google Fonts, we import the inter font. Also, I changed the title to CV website. You can change it to whatever you like. Inside the config file, we already have the dark mode defined as a class, so we can use dark mode in the project right away. So we have the Tailwind, and also for the icons that we are going to use, I have installed React icons as well. Inside this README file, you can see the instructions. After you download the folder, you need to open up your terminal and type down npm install to install these dependencies. And once the installation is done, you can use npm run dev in the terminal to run the project on your browser. Right now I have the empty project run on my browser, and after that we are going to be ready to go. So before we start, let's take a look at this finished version and break it down. The layout that we are going to use is basically made out of two parts. So we're going to have only two components. First one is going to be header left, which is going to be this part on the left, and this home section. We are not going to split these sections into different components since these parts don't have much complexity. Only two components will be enough, so we're going to create two components named header left and home. So we can close this off. So first, let's go into the project folder, and inside the source, let's create a folder named components. Inside, we're going to have header left.jsx and home.jsx. Inside these two files, I will use rafce to create arrow function components. To be able to use this shortcut, you need to install this extension named React Snippets. And as you can see, the components also have the function names taken from these file names. Let's go back into app.jsx file, and inside this div, let's import the components. As you can see, my VS Code automatically imports these components. If that doesn't happen for you, you need to type it down like this. So this div is going to be the container for the entire website. Let's set it to minimum h screen to make it cover the entire page with 100%. A flex container, flex direction of column, and for the screens that are larger than small, flex direction is going to be flex row. Subpixel anti-aliased, this is for font smoothing. And for now, we are going to set the background to white. So right now, the screen is larger than 640 pixels. And that means these two components are going to be side by side. The header is going to be on the left and the home is going to be on the right. But once we go down under this minimum width, the flex direction is going to be flex column. That means the header left is going to be on the top and home is going to be at the bottom. To finish the layout, we also need to go into these components and give them some flex values. So this header left, let's set it to minimum h screen and flex 1. And home is also going to be minimum age screen, but flex 3. So this is going to be easier for you to understand if we use DevTools. As you can see, this part has the value of flex 3. That basically means it's taking 75% of this viewport, and header left is taking 25%. And with this, we have the basic layout. So going back into app.jsx file, we can also quickly set up the dark mode as well. To be able to create a dark mode, we are going to use the useState hook and create a state variable, which will be dark mode, and a setter function, set dark mode, is going to be equal to useState, and the initial state is going to be false. So right now, dark mode has the current state, and false basically means this dark mode has the state of false, which in this case means the website is in light mode. We are going to reverse it by using the setter function to create a dark mode. To be able to do it, we're going to use another function. Let's name it toggle dark mode. And using the setter function, set dark mode, we're going to create a previous mode and basically reverse it. And we also need to access the document, and we need to toggle this dark mode. So if the dark mode is true, we are going to apply the dark class, and if it's not, we are not going to apply it. To be able to use this function, we are going to put it inside a button, but we are going to create that button later. Only thing left is to change this to a dynamic string and delete the bg white. Using the $sign and curly braces, I will create this short if statement. So if the dark mode is true, we are going to set the background to black, and if it's not, we are going to set it to background white. So the button that we are going to create to be able to use this function is going to be inside header left. So we need to pass all of this information about dark mode to this component, which is currently empty. And to pass that information, we will use props. So dark mode is going to be equal to dark mode, and toggle dark mode is going to be equal to toggle dark mode. Inside header left, we can just use props, or we can destructure it. It doesn't matter since we only have 2 props anyways. So dark mode and toggle dark mode. We are going to use this state and this function when we create the button. So right now we are basically done with this app.jsx file. We can close this off and start with the header left. Let's delete this text and set this div to position relative. The dark mode button that we are going to create is going to be positioned relative to this container div. So this is why it's set to position relative. We are going to set the button to position absolute. Let's give it a padding of 10. So padding 40 pixels. To make the dark mode transition smooth, we are going to use transition all, duration 500. And when the dark mode is active, we are going to set the background to black and the text to white. For screens that are larger than small, we are going to create a border on the right. And for the dark mode, the border is going to be gray 700. Here you can see the border. Inside this div, you're going to create another div, which is going to be a container for all of these sections that we are going to create inside this header left. I'm going to set the flex direction to column because all of these sections are going to be stacked on top of each other. Let's also put some gap between them, gap 5. And let's create the first section. This one is also going to be a flex container with the flex direction of column. Center the items and gap 5. In this section, we're going to have the image, your name, your title, and also the dark mode button. Let's create a image and import it. Import image from the public. We're going to pass it inside this image using curly braces. Oops, there shouldn't be a period at the start. Let's make it a little bit smaller and make it circular by using rounded full. So right under the image, you're going to have another div, center the text, and space UI1. Space UI is basically like gap, but to be able to use gap, you need a flex container. But you can use space UI whenever you want, because it creates the space between elements by using margin top and margin bottom. Inside, we're going to have the H1. Let's make the text bigger and font light. You can put your own name inside this H1 and your surname inside this span. Let's set the span to font semi-bold. Right under this H1, you're going to create a H3, which is going to be text X large and font light. You can type down your job title, and outside this div, you're going to create the dark mode button. It is going to be positioned absolute. So right 10 and top 10. And using the onClick event handler, we are going to put the toggle dark mode function. Inside this button, depending on the mode, we are going to be displaying two different icons. So if you are in the light mode, there is going to be a moon icon. And if it's the dark mode, there is going to be a sun icon. So we're going to use a if statement. Let's open up a set of curly braces. So if the dark mode is true, we are going to use this sun icon. You should be able to quickly import this icon since I have installed React icons. As you can see, it is imported from React icons. If that doesn't happen for you, you need to import it like this. Let's also set it to text to X large. And if we are in the light mode, we are going to display a moon icon, bi moon. Let's copy and paste this class name as well. Make sure you imported this icon as well. Let's see if it's working fine. And there you go. The border is changing colors, the text as well. You can see a little speed difference between these two parts. This one is changing a little bit later, and that's because we used transition. Duration 500, it takes a little bit longer to switch colors. That makes it look a little bit smooth. We are going to be applying the same transition to this part as well, and they are going to be changing colors equally. So right now, this part is done. Outside this one, we are going to create another section, which is also going to be a flex container with flex call, item start, and justify start. This is going to bring the items to the left, gap 5, and border at the bottom, padding 5. And for dark mode, the border is going to be gray 700. Inside, we're going to have a unordered list with space UI 3. And we're going to have 3 list elements with some icons inside. This first one is going to be the location, the second one is going to be your email, and the third one is going to be for the phone number. Since there is going to be 2 items inside, let's set this to flex and item center and put some gap between them. So let's use a location icon, current location. This is going to be text X large. And right under this, we're going to have this span with some made up location. We can just copy and paste this for the others and change the second one to bi envelope. This is going to be the email. And the final one is going to be the phone. And right now, this is how it looks. We can create the next section. Next one is going to be the social links. Right outside this div, we're going to create another one, which is also going to be a flex container with the flex direction column, item start, and justify start to bring the items to the left, gap 5 and border bottom, padding 5, and for the dark mode, border is going to be gray 700. Let's have a h1 that says social, text base, and font semi-bold. And for the screens that are larger than medium, text is going to be 2x large. Right under this h1, we're gonna have a unordered list with space UI 3. We can just copy and paste these list items and change the icons. This first one is going to be a logo for the GitHub. You can type down your username in here. Second one is going to be Twitter, and the final one is going to be LinkedIn. And this is how it looks. And this section is also done. Next one is going to be the education section, which is also going to be a flex container with flex direction column. Bring the items to the left, gap 5, border bottom, and padding 5. For the dark mode, border is going to be 700. At the top, we're going to have this text, education. This is going to be the same title as this one, so we can copy and paste this. Right under this h1, we're going to create a unordered list. Inside this unordered list, we're going to have 3 list elements, and each of these list elements are going to have 3 spans inside. First one is going to be the degree and the university and the years. So the first list element is going to have a position of relative because we are going to be creating a dot on the left just for design purposes. We're going to use a pseudo element, and we are going to set that pseudo element to position absolute, and we want the pseudo element to be positioned relative to this list element. Flex and flex column. Gap 1, we're going to have a border on the left, padding 6, and let's create the pseudo element. If you have never created a pseudo element using Tailwind, this is going to look really long, but this is one of the cons of using Tailwind. So just like using vanilla CSS, when you create a pseudo element, we're going to use before. Also, you can use after as well, it doesn't matter. You're going to set it to position absolute. And every time we need to define a style for it, we need to put this before right in front of it. And this is why it is going to get really long. We're going to set it to left by -6 pixels. And from top, 50%. Height is going to be 3. And width is going to be 3. And to center it, we are going to use translate UI 50%. We're going to make it a circle by using rounded full and set the background color to black. And for the dark mode, we will set the background color to white. You can chain the dark mode and before elements like this. And to make this translate work, we also need to give it a transform as well. Let's style those text as well. Font semi-bold. And for these screens that are larger than medium, text large. This one is going to be font light. And this one is going to be text small with text gray 400. Let's see how it looks. And for now, this is how it looks. We have used all of these before classes just to create and center this little dot over here. And this line on the left is just a border left. So let's copy and paste this list element 2 more times. You can change this up. And as you can see, once we are done, this part looks like this. Now we can create the next part. So right after this section, we're going to create another one. We're going to create another div with these same classes. So let's just copy and paste this. Inside, we're going to have a h1 that says skills, text base, font semi-bold, and for the medium screens, text is going to be 2x large. Right under it, we're going to have another div, flex wrap, and gap 3. We use flex wrap because inside this div, we're going to have 2 item groups that will be side by side, but once the viewport gets smaller, we can basically make them wrap inside this div without using any media queries for the responsiveness. Inside, let's create these 2 divs. So this is the first one, which is also going to have a flex wrap and gap 3. Inside, we're going to have 4 span elements, which are going to display your skills. Let's style this first one and copy and paste it. So let's give it rounded corners, background black, text white, padding of 3, center the text, and for dark mode, background is going to be white, and text is going to be black. Let's copy and paste this for the other technologies. So right now, this is how it looks. And the other one is going to be just like this one. Let's copy and paste it and change the technologies. And let's see how it looks. And as you can see, if the viewport gets smaller, you can see they are wrapping inside the container. So that means we don't have to use any media queries. And also, when the viewport gets really small, this header left section also takes up the entire page, and this is the home section right below it. So this part is also done. Inside this component, there is only 2 parts left, which is going to be the hobbies and languages. So we're going to create another div, which is also going to have the same container styles. You can copy and paste it. This h1 is going to say hobbies, text base, font semi-bold, and for the medium screens text 2x large. Under the hobbies, we're going to have a div, flex and flex wrap, just like we did with the skills section. The items inside are going to be wrapping inside this div. Gap 16 and padding 3. We're going to have 2 unordered lists inside. So flex and list disk. With this, we can put bullet points right next to the text. Flex direction column and gap 3. And inside these list elements, you can write down your own hobbies. Copy and paste this unordered list. And this part is also done. Right after this div, we're going to create another one. Let's copy and paste the container styles and the h1. This one is going to be languages. Right under the h1, let's create a unordered list, which is going to be a flex container, list style of disk, flex wrap and gap 12. For the medium screens, text is going to be larger. Inside the list elements, you can display the languages that you speak. So this header left component is completely done. Let's see how it looks. Everything looks like it's in the right place. Let's also see the responsiveness as well. Everything looks well. Now we can move on to the next component, the home section. Let's delete this text and give it the same transition with the header left. Duration 500. When the dark mode is active, you're going to set the background to black and text to white. Inside this div, you're going to have a main element, which is going to be a flex container and which will have a width of 1000 pixels. So maximum width 1000 pixels. Flex direction of column gap 10, padding 5, and for the medium screens, margin mx10. This means margin left and margin right 40 pixels. And also for medium screens, padding UI is going to be 14, which is padding top and padding bottom. Inside this main, we can create our first section, which is going to be about. Let's create a div with the space UI 5 and a h1 that says about. We can increase the text size 2x large, font bold, and for the medium screens, text 4x large. Right under it, we are going to have this information section for yourself, so you can write down your own text. I'm going to create a really long lorem text. Let's make the text small and gray 600. For the dark mode, text gray is going to be 400, and for the medium screens, text is going to be base. Right after this part, we're going to create another one, which is going to have space UI 10 this time, a h1 that says experience. Let's make it text 2x large, font bold, and for medium screens, text 4x large. Right under this experience, you're going to have a div flex call. For the screens that are large, flex direction is going to be row, and for the large screens, gap is going to be 20. Inside this div, you're going to have two unordered lists, and currently they will be side by side. But once we go down under 1024 pixels, they are going to be on top of each other. And also right now there is a gap of 20 between them. Once we go down under a large screen, the gap is going to be deleted. So inside this div, we're going to go inside the header left and basically copy this unordered list. And we're going to copy and paste it 2 times. So right under this, copy and paste it again. So basically we're going to have the same border left and same pseudo elements, but we're gonna change up these information inside. We can delete this and create a span element with a large text and font semi-bold. You can put your title inside. Right under this, gonna have another span, font light, and this is for the company that you worked for, and the time span. Let's make this text small and text gray 400. Under this, you can write down some information about the work that you have done. So text small, gray 600, and for dark mode, gray 400. And you can copy and paste this for the other ones and just change the information according to your experience. Inside this unordered lists, we can just use 2 list elements. You can delete the third one like this, and a total of 4 elements will be enough. And let's see how it looks. Right now, this is how it looks. And once we go down under a large screen, these should be on top of each other. And there you go. Let's also see when the screen gets small and everything looks fine. We can go to the next part. The next part is going to be right outside this div, still inside the main section. This part is going to be for the certificates that you have. Let's create a div with the maximum width of 3x large. So max width of 768 pixels and space UI 8. At the top, we will have this H1 that says certificates. Text 2x large, font bold, and for medium screens, text 4x large. Under the H1, we're gonna have another div, space UI 10, and we're basically gonna create these cards. We're gonna align the text on the left, so text baseline, and space UI 3 for the text inside. We're gonna have this H3 with the certificate's name. Right under this, a paragraph that explains the certificate. Text small, gray 600, and for dark mode, text gray 400. For the medium screens, text base. And we can copy and paste this 3 more times. Let's also make these H3s a little bit bold. To change multiple lines at the same time, you can press on Ctrl on your keyboard and click on multiple lines like this. So text small, font semi-bold, and for the medium screens, text is going to be large. And this is how it looks. Let's create the next part. So outside this div and still inside the main section, we are going to create the last part, space UI 10. This one is going to be the references, text 2x large, font bold, and for the medium screens, text 4x large. Inside, we're going to have this flex container with flex wrap and gap 10. We basically going to have 3 cards that are side by side, and they are going to be wrapped inside this div once the viewport gets smaller. Let's align the text on the left and put some little space between the text, space UI1. This is going to be the title of the reference, text large and font light. Right under this, you can write down the name of your reference. Text base, font semi-bold, and for the medium screens, text 2x large. Right under this, a paragraph for phone. Text gray 600, and for the dark mode, text gray 400. And finally, a paragraph for the email. We're going to use the same gray text, so copy and paste it. And we're just going to need 2 more of this card. Let's see how it looks. And here we have the references section as well. And with this, we have completed the website. Let's switch to dark mode and see if there is anything wrong. And from the looks of it, there is nothing wrong. All the texts are turning into the right colors. Everything is readable. Let's see about the responsiveness one more time. Every part is responsive. The dark mode is still working. Let's see for the smaller screens. And looks like everything is in the right place and everything looks great. So this is how we can create this minimal CV website using React and Tailwind. I hope you guys find it helpful and enjoyed it. Thank you for your time, and I will see you next time.